Hey, what's going on, guys? Pete here with MixBetterNow.com, coming to you with the first video in my Mix 101 series where we're going to be getting into some mixing fundamentals and sort of checking out how to use some very classic pieces of gear. So this one, we're going to be taking a look at how to use an LA-2A style compressor inside of your mix session. So let's jump on in and check it out. All right, so I have two different instances of the LA-2A style compressor up on the screen right now. The one on the left is from Waves, and the one on the right is from UAD. The point of this is not, which LA-2A is better, this, that, and the other. It's simply showing you how to use it and, how it sounds and sort of what to use it on, okay? So the LA-2A is an optical style compressor. We basically have four main styles of compression. This isn't what this video is about, but I just want you to know that this is an optical style compressor which uses a photocell inside of the compressor to sort of do its thing. Some characteristics that I would describe this as would be a very warm sounding compressor and a very buttery smooth type of compressor, mainly because it has a fixed attack, a fixed release, and a fixed ratio. The fixed ratio when it's in compress mode and not limit mode. When it's in compress, it's a 3-to-1. And then when it is in limit, it's infinity to 1. But, each iteration of these LA-2As, like for example, the UAD one is the LA-2A Gray, as there have been different instantiations over the course of history. Okay, there's the silver, there's the what's the other one? Just the LA-2. And they all sort of have their own characteristics, but they all work the same way, and they all sound very similar. Okay. So I love using these on vocals. I love using these on bass guitars, but they also sound great for me. I like using them on live horns. I like using them on live strings, sometimes acoustic guitars. Things I typically will not use them on are, maybe some drums, just because it has a slower attack and a slower release time. So if you really need to control your transients, it might not be the best choice. But for these couple of applications, it's amazing. So let's check out what it sounds like. This is the limit from Matt McKelkin. We're starting with the second verse. We're going to go into the second chorus here. And just know that the order that these are sort of flowing in is I have the UAD version on the bass track, and then I have the Waves version on the bass bus. So a little bit of serial compression with some LA-2As. Let's take a listen.
The walls won't give up any answers. The ceiling tells a tale. I've burned too many holes into the past. I can't make out a single sound. I'm hanging on to the telephone. The more I say, the less I know. My heart is low, my head is high, and you just walk away. Well, you can take my heart to the limit.
All right, cool. So I hope you were listening to the bass or focusing on it there. I know it's tough on YouTube and stuff like that with, how it kind of degrades audio and whatnot, but these are very, very simple compressors to use, okay? So the first one I want to check out here is the UAD, then we'll take a look at the Waves one. I would say these are probably the two most common ones I see people using. So let's just solo up the bass for a minute. And these are my bass DI and my bass amp track going into a bass bus, all right? A lot of the times if I get a bass DI track, I will duplicate the bass DI, and then on the duplicated track, I will sort of dirty it up, maybe with the bass amp sim, maybe with a distortion plugin, so it kind of gives you some of that dirt and grind you'll get with a bass amp. This LA-2A up here is on the bass amp track, and then this guy down here is on the bass bus. So here's what the bass sounds like soloed. Okay, so now let's focus on the UAD on top here. I'll turn the bass DI track off. This is just what the bass amp sounds like. Okay, two main functions or features on this compressor that we really need to know to use it. Okay, we've got a peak reduction knob over here, and then we have a gain knob. Very, very simple how to dial this in. There's some other things that are on the plugin we'll talk about in a minute, but the main meat and potatoes of it is if we default this out. So let's just go back to the default. This is how it will be when you open the plugin. And as you can see, there's no compression happening. So what we have to do to get the compression to occur is to turn up this peak reduction knob. All right, so the further that we turn it up, the more compression we're gonna get. And it's really that easy. I mean, that is how you dial in your compression. Like I said, fixed attack time, fixed release time, fixed ratio of 3:1 when it is in compress mode. The gain knob here is great for level matching, or if you want to run it a little bit hotter. So it's a very nice, smooth type of compression. It sort of warms the signal up, and it's not harsh. It's not gonna, squash your transients too much, which I love. A couple other features that are on the LA-2A is we can change what the VU meter is showing here. So on the UAD version, we can look at two types of output with different amounts of dB. Here's one with +10. Here's one with +4. But I always keep it on gain reduction right up the middle because I kind of want to see how much compression I'm doing when I'm mixing. Another option we have here is, like on the hardware also, is we could flip it into limit mode. So when we flip it into limit mode, it then goes from 3:1 ratio, and it goes pretty much to a brick wall setting, infinity to 1. Of course, it's whatever floats your boat. I like to use it in compression mode because if I actually want to limit something, I will pull up a limiter. This was primarily done because back in the day, this was a sort of a leveling amplifier, or it could function as a limiter as well. Going even further back to the Fairchild. We'll look at that in another video. But, and then the last thing I want to touch on here, bringing this back to compression mode, is this emphasis knob. Now, this was on some of the pieces of hardware, and on some of them it was not. So what they've done here is they've included it into the plugin, and this is really just a high-pass filter or a sidechain, for letting low frequencies pass through. Low-end frequencies will stimulate a compressor much more than high-end frequencies. So, for example, if you have a very thunderous bass and you don't want to send your compressor into compression so quickly, you can roll this back. If I roll this all the way back, watch, we'll have no compression now. So I'm going to just start rolling this forwards where we had it, and you'll see the compression start to come back in. On this particular LA-2A, when it's all the way to the right, it's a flat response. So it means that all of the frequencies that come through are going to be getting compressed. All right, so now that we've checked out the UAD LA-2A, let's open the Waves CLA-2A. I'll go ahead and close this guy. And it's pretty much identical, okay? There's a lot of companies that make emulations of the LA-2A. Like I said, UAD and Waves are probably the two most popular ones. And this has pretty much the same controls on it, okay? So the only thing that's different here is on the bottom. On all the Waves plugins, they have this analog thing where you can basically emulate 50 or 60 cycle hum and hiss. And I don't particularly like that in my session, so I leave that off. If you wanted it on, I suppose you could turn it on. Anyhow, it's the same way, okay? Peak reduction, we turn this up, the more compression we get. Here's our gain knob, compression, and limiting, all right? The only difference here is on the display. We could actually meter the input as well. On the UAD, it's just the output. Okay, so as you can see, very similar. The emphasis knob on the UAD here is called, I guess, a high frequency, so it functions in the same way. It reacts exactly the same, and the peak reduction is identical. The more we crank it, the more compression we're going to get, and the less we do, the less compression we're going to get. Okay, and I mean, that's pretty much it. The LA-2A is very simple. It's a great compressor to sort of learn compression on, because it's so easy to dial in and there's not much else you need to think about. You don't need to worry about attack and release and your ratio. This is a great way to understand compression because you could really sort of hear what it's doing, and it's very easy to dial in. Very quickly, let's take a peek as to what it sort of sounds like over on the vocals here. I have this on my second lead vocal track. So what I will commonly do when I mix is I will have my lead vocal track, which is here.
The walls won't give up any answers. The ceiling tells a tale.
And then what I'll do is I'll duplicate the track and I will use different processing on it, a different EQ, a different compressor, some different effects. It's sort of what, kind of my interpretation of how Michael Brower, sort of works. And if you guys are, you're bored and you're feeling nerdy, go ahead and Google, Browerize or the Brower method. But the concept is, if we use different compressors and different tools on the same tracks and sort of blend them together on one track like a bus, we're going to get a much more exciting tonal sound from our audio. So what I have here is, like I said, is two lead vocals. It's the same thing. They both sound like this.
The walls won't give up any answers. The ceiling tells a tale.
On the left track, I'm using an 1176, which we will take a look at in a future video. But the one that I'm leaning on for the vocal on the right here is an LA-2A. Okay, same thing. Take a look at the VU meter here to see what it's doing.
The walls won't give up any answers. The ceiling tells a tale. I've burned too many holes into the past.
So it's a very smooth, very rich sounding compressor on vocals that I love. Here's what it sounds like in the context of the mix.
The walls won't give up any answers. The ceiling tells a tale. I've burned too many holes into the past. I can't make out a single sound.
Again, if I wanted more compression, I would push this up.
The walls won't give up any answers. The ceiling tells a tale.
I don't want to do that much though, so I'll bring it back to where I had it.
The walls won't give up any answers. The ceiling tells a tale. I've burned too many holes into the past.
All right, and that's basically how you use an LA-2A. There is nothing very tricky about it. There's nothing confusing. This is a great plug-in to play around with, if you're sort of starting your audio journey, and you sort of want to be able to hear what the compression does to the sound source, but also just to be able to dial it in very easily and get up and going and not have to worry about things that might be a little bit more confusing, like attack time, release time, and ratios and stuff like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and got something from it. If you did, of course, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. And if you guys aren't on the email list, make sure you click on the link below, grab your free audio swag bag full of all kinds of goodies, free multi-track sessions, free mix templates, drum samples, all kinds of stuff. Check it out on the email list. All right, so as always, thanks for your time, guys. I appreciate you watching. I hope you all have an awesome day, and I will catch you next time. See ya.